Are you ready, Bella, to go to Braley's tour on the airport?
Yeah!
You got the ticket?
Yeah!
I've never been to Dubai. I just can't wait. Can you?
Yeah!
Let's go! Oh yeah, look at the time on the card. We have to be there now. Come on, Bella. We have to run there. Let's go! Bella, we need to get to the airport so we can fly to Dubai and see Braley's tour. I can't wait. Can you?
Yeah.
Let's go and get on that plane.
Bye!
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
I would like to welcome you all to our virtual literacy event.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm Michelle Hardy, the Giving Guru.
Greetings to all the students.
Thank you for having me. I am so delighted to be with you all today to share my love of fitness.
Hi, Dr. Houston. Thank you so much.
Hi, Tori.
Hi, Dr. Houston.
So different. But I stayed brave and I showed kindness to all, even when they weren't kind to me.
And they always come equipped with a smile and grace for when you enter the place.
He hugged Hannah. He started to cry. 2 tears burst from his eyes, and
All right, let's check.
Ask your parents for choices. Or parents provide choices for you.
means so much to me and my daughter Bria, and probably also for other parents like children of like Hannah.
Tammy, wasn't this a great event?
Oh, it was incredible.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Shika Houston of Create and Educate, co-host of The Collaborative, and today I am bringing you the Collaborative Storytime Edition. Normally, our collaborative shows have featured guests and we end with story time. As we stated last week, or on October the 5th, which was our relaunch date, we have a new setup. So the first Tuesdays of the month will always be featured guests with us and story time at the end, but the following Tuesdays will always be story time. Before we get to story time, I wanted to make sure that you all are familiar with the things on our website that may be able to help educators, parents, and community members as it relates to literacy. One of the things that we have here, this is our featured catalog, where we feature several of the authors that we have and will feature for story time, but there's information in the catalog about their books, how to contact them. You can contact them for virtual authors visits, and also you can purchase their books from inside of the catalog. And at the end of the catalog, there are several free resources for you, other Storytime partners, Reading with Kara Lee, Reading with Mr. Lamata, as well as Reading with Miss Pat. There's other free resources here, so make sure you go to the website and look at the catalog. Also, when you visit the website, make sure you follow us on all of our platforms here. We have a Spreaker account, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. So the last two things that I would like to share with you are our virtual literacy events. This one is Braley's Tour, and our author here, Latoya Lewis, is teaching in Dubai. She and her character, Braley, take us on a wonderful tour of Dubai. It is very exciting. So make sure you visit the website, fill out the form here and you get the recording immediately. There's a little trailer that you saw at the beginning as well. And there's a free event catalog and even a boarding pass. So educators, you can use this in your classroom with students as a reward. It could be a hook for a lesson. It could be used for a variety of things. Parents, you could use this at home for birthday parties, incentives, or awards. So just make sure you check out Braley's Tour, something fun for the family to do. And the last event is Hannah's Wish. This event can be used to cultivate empathy with your students. And we have several marvelous ladies featured: Michelle Hardy, Tiffany Williams, Coach Toya, the author Alex Penn, and the very motivational Marlina Valentine, along with physician's assistant Tori Carter and her daughter. So check out Hannah's Wish. It is a great event as well. There's a trailer here and you can access the event. And this is where it was used as a school-wide event in place of the students being able to attend what they normally would attend for Special Olympics. So I hope that you enjoy story time. Remember, every time we end our segment, we always say that there is no such thing as a child that hates to read. There are only children who have not found the right book. We hope that our storytime segments help you explore new reading and new books for children and help you to find things to put into your children's hands or your students' hands to be able to cultivate that love for reading. Reading just 20 minutes per night could change the trajectory of a child's reading abilities. So please make sure we're cultivating that and modeling that for them, but also making sure that we're providing them with things that they really love and see themselves in the books as well. So our catalog is something that could be used for that. We hope that you get lots of great ideas. So I'm going to turn it over now for story time. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Wallace, and I am so excited to join you this evening. Thank you, Dr. Shika and Principal Tammy, for this wonderful opportunity to read for story time. I am excited to share with you my very own book, Mason's World, The Best Friend Maze. And I'm sure you can probably guess, yes, it is a book about friendships. And I was motivated to write this story years ago to try to help children understand the dynamics of relationships and how they often change. Mason's World follows young Mason on his very first day of 4th grade. He has a best friend and they are inseparable. But things are a little different this year. For the first time, they are not in the same classroom. And Mason is devastated. Not only are their classes different, but now Ian has made a new friend and Mason is having a hard time accepting this. We will experience Mason's feelings throughout this book and also the lesson that he learns about friendships. So let's sit back and I do hope you enjoy. Hey, Mace, watch this, yelled Ian. Mace looked up just in time to see Ian on his blue BMX coming toward him. Ian leaned forward, then suddenly shifted his body backward. The front tire lifted into the air. Swoosh! Ian swooshed by Mace on one wheel all the way to the park. Stand back! The goat is coming through, Mace hollered toward Ian. After adjusting his helmet, Mace straddled his green BMX, and in one smooth movement, he pushed down on one pedal jerked his body backward, and his front tire pointed up to the sky. He was a one-wheeled, but upright, green blur whizzing down Watson Street to the park entrance. Ian had removed his helmet and was waving it like a checkered flag at the finish line. Mace gradually let his front wheel down as he came to a stop in front of Ian. "Dude, that was dope," said Ian. "See that extra skip at the end?" Mace said as he beamed a broad smile. They gave each other their special handshake, 2 fist bumps, 2 finger snaps, and a final 2 fist bumps to finish things off. Everything came in pairs. Mason Adams and Ian Kennedy were indeed a pair. They had been friends since their first day of kindergarten. Their birthdays were only days apart. They both went to Clover Elementary School. They both loved pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. Mace was even happier with extra cheese. Ian loved lace-up high-top sneakers in black. Blue was the color Mace liked best. It was the color his dad wore. On this summer day, the 2 soon-to-be 4th graders sat under a big oak tree in the park to hide from the sun after doing wheelies all morning. The boys had spent their summer days together doing all sorts of things. They went to the skateboard rink, did belly flops and underwater races in the pool. They even went to the science center over at the university to build and launch miniature rockets. They both loved speed. Of course, rockets did not compare with wheelies. Mace and Ian didn't just love watching fast things. They loved riding them. Zipping up and down Watson Street on 1 wheel, then 2 wheels was dope. They invented and practiced all sorts of tricks. They took the time now to rest a bit. "We'll be headed back to school soon," said Mace. "Yeah, I gotta go see my grandmother next week, but we'll be back in time for school," Ian said. "You're gonna fly there, right?" "Yeah, I love planes," Ian said excitedly. "When I'm a pilot, I'm gonna let all my friends fly with me for free. And we can all play every video game in the world at the same time." "Yeah, and we can all eat pizza the whole time with lots of pepperoni and cheese," said Mace. The 2 boys started laughing at each other and the thought of eating pizza in the class. Then the inevitable happened. Ian ripped a fart so loud it could be heard over the laughter. They rolled in the grass, holding their bellies. Mason ripped one too, slightly louder than Ian's. Both boys howled with laughter. When the laughter turned to giggles, they would look at each other and the belly laugh would start all over again. Whew, now they were tired, hot, breathless, and thirsty. "Let's go get some juice at my house," said Mace, trying not to giggle. "Raisha," Ian said, jumping onto his bike. The 2 laughing boys raced down Watson Street to raid Mace's family fridge. 2 weeks later, the slight breeze moved the trees outside Mason's window as he tried to sleep. Crickets made their usual night noises. They were louder tonight. A lone dog barked in the distance. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The clock next to Mason's bed marked off the seconds. Mason heard every sound. "I can't sleep," said the silent voice speaking in Mason's busy mind. As he lay in bed, his thoughts were racing. Tomorrow is the first day of school. I'm one of the big kids now, 4th grade. I can do more things. I can even be a safety patrol. I can wear the yellow sash. I'm even taller now. Mason stretched his body in his bed as straight as he could. He tightened the muscles in his body and his face. He began to feel more confident. The fifth graders won't try to pick on me now. And I get to see my best friend, Ian. That's the very best part. Mason had not seen Ian since he left to visit his grandmother. It had only been 2 weeks, but it seemed like years. They had talked on the phone once. Ian's family was often gone to visit a lot of other family and friends near his grandmother's home. Ian had told him there were always lots of aunts and uncles and cousins around. Mason also did a lot of family stuff too, since Ian left. But right now, he was eager to see Ian again. He was excited to start the year with his best friend. Each year, they had the same teacher and were always assigned seats at the same table. Everybody could tell they were best friends. Yeah! Fourth grade with Ian, I can't wait, Mason said out loud in his bed. With all the stretching and planning, imagining, and excitement, Mason was soon exhausted. The tick-tock of his bedside clock finally lulled him to sleep. Mace, a voice called out from Mason's sleep. Mace, it's time to... Before his dad could say more, Mason sat straight up in the bed, then leaped to the floor. He ran to the mirror and looked at his reflection. He thought, yes, I am taller today. I bet Ian is taller too. Mason immediately started putting on his clothes. Whoa, slow it down, son. How about a shower first? I'm sure everybody at school would appreciate that, his dad said jokingly. That's funny, Dad, but I can't be late. People are waiting for me. Plus, I gotta meet up with Ian, Mason said quickly. Really? His father asked, as he placed his hands on his son's shoulder and pointed Mason in the direction of the bathroom door. First, brush your teeth. Second, take a shower. And this time, be sure to use toothpaste and soap. Mason's dad laughed as he walked away and disappeared down the stairs. Mason scrambled into the shower, danced around in the water, lathered up with soap, and rinsed quickly. He applied his minty fresh toothpaste to his toothbrush and brushed his teeth so quickly that he was out of the bathroom in record-breaking 12 minutes. Mason scurried back into his room. He had already selected his clothes the night before, so he knew exactly what he was going to wear. His blue lace-up high tops were sitting next to his closet in easy reach. After getting dressed, Mason ran downstairs to the kitchen for breakfast. Wow, that was fast. Are you sure you're ready for school? His mom asked. Yep, I did everything Dad said. I just did it faster, said Mason. His mom looked at her young son from head to toe. He looked smart and handsome. Fourth grade. That's a really big deal, Mason. Now you're on the hall with the fifth graders, his mom said with pride as they all sat down for breakfast. Yep, Mason mumbled between chews. I want to see my friends, but I really don't want to do any work. He leaned back in his chair and looked at the ceiling. There's so much reading, Mason continued. Both his parents smiled at each other, then at their young son. Suddenly, Mason sat up straight and said, I bet me and Ian will be in the same class again. Well, if history repeats itself, I bet you'll be in the same class too, his mom agreed. Yep, Mason said as he continued eating. He's my best friend. Best friend? Well, what about Rodney, Nathan, and Kira? I thought they were your friends too, his dad asked. They're all okay, but Ian is like, you know, my best friend, Mason answered. Oh, how did I not realize that? His dad said sarcastically. After breakfast, his mom got up from the table and began collecting her things for work. She started to call out for Mason, but was surprised when she noticed he was already busily slipping his backpack over his shoulder and heading for the front door. Bye, Dad, Mason called out as he sprinted out the door. Bye, son. Hey, have a great first day, his dad replied. Come on, Mom, we can't be late, Mason yelled as he stood next to the car. The ride to school was quiet. I know this car will go faster than this, Mason thought. When they arrived at the school, Mason unbuckled his seatbelt lightning fast and jumped from the car. Have a good day, baby, his mom shouted to Mason's back. Bye. Mason looked back and yelled as he walked, then speed walked toward the main building. Mason was on a mission. He had to find Ian. Then it happened. He spotted Ian by the front steps. Hey, Ian, what's up? Mason screamed. What's up, Mace? Ian answered as they got together. They gave each other their special handshake, 2 fist bumps, 2 finger snaps, then 2 more fist bumps to finish things off. They took turns chatting. First one at a time, then almost at the same time, then laughing with wide hand gestures. The 2 friends followed the crowd through the doors. Settle down, settle down. Ladies and gentlemen, please use your lower voices entering the building, said Mr. Wakely, the school principal. There were chuckles and mumbles among the crowd of students as they were directed to the cafeteria. Mason and Ian walked to the cafeteria together. This is where all the students gathered on the first day of school. This was where they would find out who their teacher would be and who would be in their class. Mason and Ian sat down next to each other and continued talking in whispered tones, but still talking. They laughed about what they did and the places they visited over the last few weeks. They also talked about how they would conquer 4th grade. They were in total agreement. 4th grade was going to be as easy as eating pizza. A sudden hush came over the cafeteria as teachers began to enter. The students were sectioned off by grade level. One by one, each teacher for that grade introduced themselves. Then they called their class roll and lined up their students. Mason and Ian's excitement grew. They stopped whispering to each other and focused on the 4th grade roll call. A tall lady with short curly hair walked across the room toward the 4th grade students. He had never seen her before. She looks nice. Maybe she's my teacher, Mason thought. She cleared her throat and began to speak. Good morning, I'm Mrs. Hall. If I call your name, I will be your 4th grade teacher this year. When your name is called, I would like for you to line up in front of me. Mason Adams. Mason was the first name called. Inside, he was excited, but he didn't dare show that excitement to others. He glanced back at Ian as he lined up and anticipated Mrs. Hall calling out Ian's name. He kept waiting and waiting, but Ian's name was never called. When Mrs. Hall called the last name, Mason looked over at Ian and mouthed, "What happened?" He could see that Ian was just as shocked as he was. When Mrs. Hall motioned, a completely disappointed Mason took one last glance at Ian and led the line out of the cafeteria, down the hall to his new classroom. When they entered the classroom, Mason could see that Mrs. Hall had each student's name taped on the tables. Everyone knew where to sit, and each table could seat 2 people. Mrs. Hall told the class they had 2 minutes to locate their names and introduce themselves to their neighbors at the table. But Mason didn't really want to meet or sit next to anyone. He was confused and disappointed. He didn't understand how anyone could just split him and Ian up. After all, they were best friends. Everybody knew they were best friends. Mason found his seat and slumped in his chair. He didn't speak or introduce himself to the other students sitting at his table or the next table. He barely looked up. "What's wrong with you?" a short, curly-haired girl with freckles asked. "Nothing," Mason replied. He could feel the eyes of the other student at his table looking at him. He slowly looked up and saw his table mate. He was so upset he didn't realize there was anyone else at his table. He didn't even see the other 2 students at the next table. Then he noticed the clock on the wall and watched the second hand slowly move. It was going to be a long day. "Hi, I'm Stacy. What's your name?" the freckled-faced girl asked. Mason sharply replied, "Mason." "Okay, Mason, this is Jackson and Tyler," she said, pointing to the 2 boys at the next table. Jackson and Tyler spoke. Then they got up to go to the water fountain together. Mason had never seen any of them before. They were all new to Clover Elementary. Right now, Mason felt new and out of place. "Mason, do you want to sit with me at lunch?" asked Stacy. "Since I don't know anybody, we should sit together," she continued. "Nah, I'm eating with my best friend," Mason told her. "Oh, where's your best friend? We can all sit together," Stacy said with excitement. "I don't think there'll be any room. Sorry," he said apologetically. Mason didn't want to be bothered anymore. Besides, to Mason, Stacy had already talked more than enough. He wanted to be left alone. At lunchtime, Mason sat down and saved a seat next to him for Ian. Ian's class wasn't in the cafeteria yet. Mason was excited to finally get to hang out with his friends. Now they could finish talking and telling jokes from earlier this morning. There was so much more to talk about. When Ian's class walked in, Mason noticed him laughing and talking with another boy who was walking behind him in line. Hey, Ian," Mason shouted. "I saved you a seat over here." "Hey, Mace, what's up?" Ian answered. "I can't sit with you today. I got Miss Pringle, and she already said that we had to sit at assigned tables." Mason was devastated. 2 hits in one day. Don't these teachers know we are best friends and best friends always sit together? He thought out loud. Mason had no one to sit with now. He had not been very kind to Stacy. To be honest, he was rude. He looked around and everyone was eating and appeared to be having fun. That day, Mason decided to sit alone. If he couldn't sit with Ian, then he wasn't going to sit with anyone. During lunch, Mason often glanced over to see what Ian was doing. Each time he hoped to see Ian sitting by himself and looking just as lonely as he was. But he wasn't. When he glanced at Ian's table, he could see Ian laughing, and he even saw him sharing his lunch. Ian wasn't sad at all. He looked like he was having fun, a lot of fun, and without Mason. Why is he having fun without me? Mason thought. At that moment, he just wanted to disappear. Lunch was finally over, and all the students went back to their classrooms. Mason spent the rest of his day looking at the clock and wishing he was back at the park with Ian. He tried to ignore everyone around him. Stacy kept talking and asking questions while Jackson and Tyler laughed and told jokes. I'm in the 4th grade sitting at a table with a complete stranger, Mason thought. To make things worse, my best friend is making new friends without me. Today was supposed to be fun, but it's the worst day ever. Mason sat back in his chair and he said to himself, I lost my best friend. Mason barely heard or responded to anything in class. He simply wanted to make it through the rest of the afternoon. Mrs. Hall had assigned them so much work that he had no choice but to stay busy. She explained that working in groups would help build relationships and teach them how to work together as a team. Mason didn't care about teamwork. He just wanted this day to end. When 2 o'clock finally arrived, Principal Wakely began the afternoon announcements. He thanked the teachers and students for a wonderful first day of school. During the announcements, Mrs. Hall instructed everyone to clean up their tables and prepare for dismissal. Yes, it's time to go home, Mason shouted with relief. His table mate looked at him with some confusion. As the class lined up to go to the bus lane, Mason wondered if Ian would even sit beside him on the bus or if he'd already found someone else to sit with. When the class exited the front doors of the school, Mason heard someone shout, "Bye, Mason, see you tomorrow." When he turned around, he noticed Stacy and Tyler waving as they walked toward their bus. "Bye," he grumbled back. When Mason stepped on the bus, he noticed Ian sitting near the back, waving his hands. He was motioning for Mason to come where he was. For a brief moment, Mason felt relieved that he had his friend back. Then he realized that Ian was already sitting with someone. It's the same kid from the cafeteria. Why can't he just go away? Mason thought to himself as he took a seat next to them across the aisle. "This is Doug," said Ian. "Doug, this is my friend Mason. But just call him Mace." Mason couldn't believe it. Ian had just given this Doug kid permission to call him Mace. Only his parents and his best friend called him Mace. Ian continued, "Check it out. Doug is in my class and he lives in my neighborhood too. Now I have someone to ride bikes near my house." Mason could tell that Ian was excited, but the more Ian talked, the more disappointment Mason felt. Ian talked on and on about his first day. At this point, Mason really couldn't wait to get home. Not only was Doug replacing him at school, but he was replacing him at home too. It's true, Mason thought to himself. I've lost my best friend. Mason's thoughts were interrupted with a loud voice. "Hey, Mace, you want to come over this weekend and hang out with us? Doug is having a camp out in his backyard on Saturday. It's going to be dope," said Ian. "Yeah, you should come too," Doug added. Mason's day just kept getting worse. He was so hurt that he didn't even respond. He remained quiet for the rest of the bus ride home. He thought about his first day and how horrible it was. He could also hear Ian and Doug laughing and telling jokes. "My best friend has another best friend. He forgot all about me," Mason sighed. The bus stopped and the doors made a screeching sound as they opened. When he walked out When he looked out the window, Mason realized that it was his stop. As he got up, Ian said, "See you later." Doug just waved. "Bye," he barely whispered. When Mason got off the bus, he finally released the tears he had been holding back all day. His first day was nothing like he thought it would be. As he began to walk home, Mason could see his dad in the distance. He was standing at the next corner, waiting on him where they had agreed to meet. Now that he was in the 4th grade, Mason didn't need his dad to wait for him at the bus stop. Mason slowly walked toward his dad, who was waving and smiling. Mason thought to himself, "Oh, great. I just know Dad is going to ask me about my day." He let out a long sigh. He wiped his tears with the back of his sleeve and put on the fakest smile ever. As Mason slowly approached his dad, his dad said, "Hey, son, how was the first day of 4th grade?" "Fine," Mason replied. He didn't want to talk about what really happened, about how his friend abandoned him. "Just fine," his dad responded. He could tell there was something wrong because Mason was so quiet. As they walked up a small hill, his dad began asking him about his day. Mason told him his teacher's name and how he sits at a table with a new kid, Stacy, and next to a table with 2 more new kids, Tyler and Jackson. "What? No Ian?" his father asked. "Ian is not my friend anymore," Mason started explaining. "Ian has a new friend, Doug." Mason fought back the tears, but his voice was trembling. "Since we're not in the same class, I guess he has a new best friend." Doesn't sound like Ian. "Maybe he's just trying to make other friends so he won't be so lonely without you," his dad said. "He just forgot about me, Dad. Like I don't exist," Mason whined. He wasn't sad about us not being in the same class. He didn't even care, Mason continued as his voice was getting higher and higher. As they walked, his dad put his arm around him and said, "Mason, I'm sure you and Ian are still friends. Sometimes your friends meet new people and then they become friends. But son, that doesn't mean they don't like you anymore." Mason's dad stopped, faced his son, and leaned down close to his small face. He could see that his eyes were filled with tears. "Son, as you get older, you'll understand that you can have things in common with more than one person. You'll see. It'll be okay," his dad said quietly. "No, it won't. Ian's going over to Doug's on Saturday," Mason cried. His warm tears rolled down his face. "They're gonna have a camp out. Ian even had the nerve to ask me to come too," he continued angrily. "Hey, now that sounds like fun. You should go. You'll have a good time," his dad suggested. "Mason, you have to realize that you and Ian will not always be in the same class or have the same friends. Give Doug a chance," his dad continued. His dad smiled as he finished his last bit of advice. "You might just like him." When they finally reached home, Mason opened the door and ran up to his room. He tossed his backpack on the floor and threw himself on the bed. He just lay there thinking and soon drifted off to sleep. "Mace, wake up." He could hear his mom's soft voice as she shook him. He opened his eyes and saw his mom standing over him. "You have a phone call," she whispered and handed Mace the cell phone and left the room. Who could be calling me? Mason thought as he took the phone. He put his feet on the floor and sat up straight on the side of his bed. He was so surprised to see Ian's phone number on the caller ID. Then he heard Ian's voice. Hey, Mace, want to come over to my house on Friday for a sleepover? Then we can go to Doug's camp out on Saturday together. Mason took a deep breath and tried to be cool, but he was too excited and relieved. Ian didn't forget about me, Mason thought. That's going to be fun. I'll ask my mom. Mason babbled out the words. Mace, I wish we were in the same class this year. Miss Pringle is nice and all, but I miss us being at the same table, said Ian. Instantly, Mason realized his dad was right. He and Ian were still friends. After dinner, Mason did his homework, took a shower, then got ready for bed. His dad came up to his room and asked him if he was feeling any better. I sure am, Mason answered happily. I'm glad to hear it, son. So I take it you and Ian are friends again? His dad asked. Not just friends, Dad. We're best friends, Mason replied, smiling. Mason would have no trouble falling asleep tonight. He had learned a powerful lesson about friendship on his first day of 4th grade. He realized that he didn't lose Ian's friendship. He also learned that it is okay to have more than one friend. Mason now knows that friendship is something you can share. I hope that you have enjoyed this story about friendships. You can find Mason's World on Amazon. It is available in the Kindle format and in paperback. I want to thank you again so much for reading along with me. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye, everyone.